G'day guys, Matt here from Not in the Manual. Today's video is going to be on Tesla software update 2024.14.3. Now this is a pretty big update. There's a lot of things to go through here today. So what this is going to be is just looking inside the car at the user interface and looking at the changes there. I'm planning on doing a separate video for the adaptive headlights, but I will give you some little previews of that video here overlaid in this one. And yeah, so there's a lot to go through today, so we will just be looking at the user interface. Not all cars have this update yet. I was pretty lucky to get it the first day that it was released, and I've been able to just play around with it for a few days. I don't like to do my software update reviews as soon as the software comes out, unless it's a much smaller update and it's got just one feature that's super interesting or something. So with Tesla, their software updates go out, they are pretty random. I think the guys that have the full self-driving package get the software packages as soon as they're released, and that's an advantage of paying all that money. Now, I still don't think that makes it worth it, but at the moment here in Australia, but yeah, that's your choice to make. Now, the rest of us, we get it pretty random, and that's just how it works. I think Tesla just don't want to release that out to every car at once, because if there is a problem, then all the cars at once have that problem. If it's a small group of cars with the problem, it's much easier to deal with and handle, and it's not as big a problem. So that's one of the reasons anyway. The way the update numbering works is it's 2024, obvious that's the year. 14 is week 14 that the update was first released to employees or whoever that was released to. And then the .3 at the end is just an incremental update of that main software update. So this was released to the public on .3, so it had a few changes done before it could be released to the public, and probably just some little bugs or something in there. So you got to remember now, Tesla have a fair few cars to push these update out to, a fair few different cars anyway to push this out. They've got the new Model 3, they've got the S and the X and the Ys, they've got performance versions, they've got ones with LFP batteries in them, ones with normal batteries, long range, like there's just so many different versions. And they all take this same software update. So there's a lot of risk there with all those different models, and even the legacy model cars, for there to be trouble. So this is why it is a staggered release, and that's pretty important. Now, you will get it eventually if you don't have it. Just be patient. I remember with a few of these really exciting updates, I was just going out to my car and getting it to check for software updates pretty regularly, just in case my car was pushed to my car. Whereas now you can only go into your software tab and check once a day. It won't allow you. Sometimes you can reset your car and get it to check again, but yeah, that doesn't always work. So yeah, let's get into this update. I think really it begins here at the parked visualization. That has completely changed here. It's a full screen visualization that you can scroll out of the way if you want to just go and look at your maps and navigate somewhere like I have here. You can just slide that across now. I don't know what the Intel cars are going to get. My car, all the Model Ys in Australia came out after the AMD Ryzen processors were being used for the media system, for the entertainment system, the media control unit, the MCU it's called. So that's called MCU 3. So I think all the Model Ys will get this. So it's only going to be the older Model 3s with the Intel Atom processors that won't have these visualizations. I don't really understand it, because as far as I'm concerned, they have this same little visualization here, and I just don't see why it would take that much more processing power to do this. But you know, part of it, I guess, it's a bit like the Apple thing where at some point they cut off phones from receiving the latest update. But yeah, I still don't get it. My brother-in-law has an older Model 3 with the Intel Atom processor, so once he gets the update, I'll be able to let you know what those older cars are going to be getting. So straight away, it's really just user experience. So a lot of the things you'll see in this update don't really enhance the performance of the car. It's more of just about that user satisfaction, I guess, or user experience. So Tesla are great at just making the car feel a bit different each time you get an update. And while a lot of them are pretty useless things that we're going to go through here today, it is just for that user experience and just makes you appreciate the car much better all round, and just improves those visuals. So this is a visual improvement here. It doesn't make it any easier to use these controls. You can still pop the frunk or the bonnet. You can pop the trunk or the boot, as we call it here. And yeah, that doesn't really change that. You've still got the lock button here, and if we scroll across, you can see that's all still the same there. We used to have this. The only thing is now, when you open up the boot, so we'll go across and do that. It's when you press it open, you can now pause it. I didn't let it go up far enough, so it's actually just closed again. But yeah, you can, and you get the visualization there, that boot opening up. There's some people just walking behind my car and that thought that was pretty weird. So anyway, we'll close that again. So yeah, that's the visualization. You now have a little preview of the nav in the corner, and you can just touch on that and that'll open up the nav again. You get a trip overview here, and there's a little progress bar here at the bottom which shows your car progressing along the route. It shows you, if you've got premium connectivity, it will actually show you the traffic. You can see speed cameras in the trip overview. So if we go to the trip overview here, you can see speed cameras along the route, and we can see traffic along the route in the different colors of the path. So you can still pick here different options, different route options here. It tells you one has a toll here, it has a little dollar symbol. Now this all came out in a previous update, but we've got speed cameras there. I don't think you can push on them and get anything extra. So yeah, we get that little trip preview up in the corner, and we get that progress bar. So now I think even if you press on that, it goes to nav. So you've got a lot of options to get back to nav. We now have the cards over here. Now they are the same cards that were here with the smaller screen. So the same little cards that you had here. You now just can't lift up the music player and look at recents and things. So that's changed a little bit there. We can click on settings here. They're a little bit more accessible. I know passengers used to use the volume button and then they'd click on the settings there, and then they'd be able to change some of the settings. So that's a bit more accessible. I think we can just go to search here and bring up the media player. So yeah, I think it's just keeping that front and center. Now that's great for passengers having this full screen view, because they don't need to reach across to the other side of the screen here to get to these audio controls. So really for the driver, you have the steering wheel buttons to go to the next song or change the volume and do things like that. So the passenger really needs to be able to make use of these. Now those cards can't be moved around. You can see there, they can't be, they're fixed in that position. And that's really just here, this overall visualization that's changed here. So those playback controls are a bit larger, more centralized. So here with the media controls, as usual, if you touch on the artist or the song, it takes you to Spotify or whatever media you have playing at the time. Now here we have a playlist. You now have up next in here now, because you do have a bit of a queue going. Now you can't alter that queue like you can in the Spotify app, but you can go into search. If you search for a song, when it eventually gets to it. Now this really only works if I click on a song here now, it's just going to start playing it. If you want to add something to a queue, you've really got to go to something like a playlist or an album. This is a little bit of a glitch, but I'll just show you. Maybe I'm missing something, if you guys can let me know. But I'm here in an album, and now you have this little symbol here, which is add to the queue. So you can see I've got this song here playing at the moment. Now if I add this song to the queue, it says that it's added to the queue. So I can go back here, close the search down, click on the queue button here, and you can see now the next song in the queue is that song that I added. So we will add it to the start of the queue, and that will become the next song. So this is great for if you've got, my kids get in the car and they each want to put on a song and they want to be able to just add it to a queue. So this will probably solve a few arguments there. But you got to remember is when the next person adds a song to the queue, it will be the next song coming up. It doesn't just then add it to the end of the queue, it's going to add it to the start. So I think this is a beginning of a bit of a revamp for the Spotify, but it's a step in the right direction, and it's quite a useful feature for the passengers. That's not really something that you're going to mess around with while you're driving. So you might want to just go through, browse some songs, start a bit of a queue going of songs for your drive before you drive, and that would be useful then. Yeah, that's really it. If you got any more questions on that, I haven't really had a lot of time to spend on that Spotify side of things. But yeah, just let me know if you got any questions there and I'll try and answer them. What we'll do is we'll just keep on this theme of these large visualizations. So if I now put my car into drive, it straight away shows me my overview of the nav. I can swipe across and I now have the full screen visualizations. So the car is picking up people walking around. It's picked up all those parked cars across from me in the car park here. It's got the cars next to me. We're seeing a lot more detail on the car. So we used to get the brake lights. We get indicators here flashing as well, but it's the American style indicators with the red flashing. It doesn't bring up, but it will now actually, when you're in traffic, I should be able to overlay some footage here. When you're in traffic, it shows you the brake lights and indicators of the cars around you that the cameras can see. Now, these visualizations, they can be useful when you're in a crowded situation like this or in traffic, looking down for safety warnings. It will show you which car it's giving you a warning for around you. Everyday driving, not that useful, but it is pretty cool. And it is a demonstration of what the car is seeing. Now, the car's been able to see all this sort of stuff for a very long time. You just haven't been able to see it on your screen here. And the car actually sees a lot more than what you can see in these sort of visualization previews. So looking at some of the full self-driving videos in the US, you can see that the car actually sees curbs, it maps them out, it's seeing the edges of the roundabouts, and it's putting a lot more into the visualizations. You got to remember your car is capable of that. It just doesn't have the software activated. Now these visualizations are pretty cool. It's impressive. And part of me just thinks this has been activated just to make you feel warm and fuzzy that full self-driving isn't far off. Now here in Australia, we don't know when that's coming. And some of this I think here is just to keep people happy. You feel like some progress is being made, and that's just my opinion. I don't have the full self-driving package, so any of you guys that do have the full self-driving package, just let me know if you are getting some different visualizations to what I am getting, what you're seeing here. Now during driving, it's pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. You get to see the cars coming the opposite way. You get to see a lot more people. You can see, looking here now, you can see bikes and people that the car's seeing here. It's seeing a car trying to park in a parking spot over here. You can now see the cars actively the cars measuring the size of them, and you will see, turning from an SUV to a sedan or whatever, and then dynamically sizing there in the visualization. So that's pretty cool. Looking over here on the right-hand side of the screen, your driving information has now changed. Your speedometer has moved to right more up in the corner, and it's actually, the font is now bigger. It's a larger size, much easier to see. I thought it was pretty easy to see anyway, but it's a step in the right direction. There's a bit more space here, and you can have that bigger numbering there, and that is in the smaller screen and the full screen visualizations. Your energy meter has moved to the side here. You can't really see it that well at the moment. Possibly if I just change to dark mode, might be able to see that a bit clearer. I prefer the dark mode, look of the dark mode anyway. You can see the energy bar has now moved to the side, and everything else has moved to the side as well. Your 70 speed signs, but when you come back here, the speed moves back up to the left. So it's only in the full screen that it shifts everything here to clear space here for the visualizations. Your navigation directions come up here in the full screen, and you still just have the preview there. Now I find it pretty difficult if you are navigating somewhere that you're not sure of and you're trying to have a quick look down to see when a turn is coming up. Sometimes that can be a bit difficult, but you can just quickly press on the screen here and then you get your navigation map view back pretty quickly. So that's pretty easy. It's not much of an inconvenience. And that's sort of changed here. So that's a lot better. I find it's nice. It's no big deal having that energy meter down the side here out of the way. The battery state of charge has moved over here as well. Yeah, it's quite nice and neat and compact in the end. It's really just a much more tidy feel to this user interface here. So we'll go back to the parked screen, and what we might do is just run through the release notes quickly here. So what you need to do for release notes is go to software and then scroll down to release notes. And we'll just do a quick run through of these. I think I've covered a lot of the things in here, so we won't need to go back, and then we might just run through some of the undocumented changes here as well. So if you're an Audible customer and you use Audible to listen to audiobooks, I use a mixture of Spotify. I listen to Apple Podcasts. I've listened to audiobooks on Spotify. But if you do have an Audible account, the good thing is now that Audible is built in, and you can see that now come up in your app drawer. Now this app drawer is growing bigger and bigger here. So we've got a few more things. Nav actually now shows up in here as well. So that's Audible. So how these notes work is you have the original 2024.14 release notes here, and then you have your incremental bug fixes come up. So with the .3, it's just showing me as Audible, but I'm sure there were a lot of other changes in that. So we have the visual updates, which we've run through. We've gone through all of those, I'm pretty sure. Yep. Spotify. I didn't look at playback speed. I don't really muck around with that. If we look, possibly that's for audio books. Yeah, possibly audiobooks and podcasts. Let's just see. We go library, podcasts. Let's go here. So if we play that. Yeah, okay, we've got the playback speed up here. So it looks like it is just for podcasts and audiobooks. So there we go. I learned something new. So you can see it up here as well. 1 times, 1.2, 1.5, 2 times, 0.8, and 1 times. So I know a few people like to listen to podcasts and things at 2 times speed, or what do we got, 1.2 times speed, just to get through them a bit quicker. And I prefer to just listen at normal speed. Okay, so that's that. Preview of Sentry mode recordings. Now, I'll put an overlay here. I don't, where it is in the app, I don't really haven't had that happen yet. Now I've got back to the car and I've had Sentry mode events, but I think it actually needs to trigger the vehicle alarm to actually send the clip to the phone. So that's not as user-friendly as you think. So you need to just make sure you have the dash cam turned on in your settings, So if we go to safety, we have the dash cam in here. I've got the dash cam set to auto. I don't think it really matters. It just needs to be in that on position. I've got camera-based detection. So I've got the most energy consumptions, yeah, the highest energy consumption settings there. So you can turn off that camera-based detection, which we had in a separate thing there. It will just use, it won't use camera-based detection. It will just, there has to actually be a physical threat for Sentry mode to be triggered, which saves a bit of battery life. So if you have your car parked at, say, an airport for a long time and you want to have Sentry mode on, just turn off the camera-based detection, and then it will only record if there is a physical threat to the car, that someone yanks on a door handle or bangs on the window or does something there. So sorry, that wasn't with this update, but just thought I'd mention it. So we're back to the release notes. So that's the Sentry mode recordings. I haven't actually had any recordings be sent to my phone yet. So when I do, I might just do a quick short on that or something. Speed camera chime, you now get a chime when you're approaching the speed cameras. Now this is only when you're navigating to a destination, and it's, what you got to be careful of is it's just a couple of 100 meters before the speed camera. It will give you a chime. So if you're sitting in traffic, you can easily forget that speed camera is coming up. It does also give you a warning at the top of your navigation instructions as well, that there is a speed camera approaching. So you do have a couple of notifications there. Now I have the speed camera chime set to on, and that's just in your navigation. Speed camera chime here. Now when you first go into your menu here after you get an update, there's a little blue dot appears beside the menu items that have new features. So originally when I first went in, there was a little blue dot next to navigation. So I clicked on there, there was a blue dot next to speed camera chime. Now that was defaulted to on. We also have average speed zones. Now up in the visualization here with the speed signs, speed limit signs when you're in gear and you're driving, if you happen to drive into a average speed zone that is in your maps or is located in your maps, then that will show on here as you've entered that average speed zone. I don't have any near me here in Sydney that I can go and demonstrate that, but yeah, if you do drive through, it will give you an idea of where your average speed is at from when you enter it. Now I think that's still a little bit glitchy here in Australia, so you may need to wait for a couple of map updates to come through in addition to this software update to get the full functionality of that working. Trip progress bar, we looked at that. So that's just a little preview of your trip there if you don't have the full map shown. Adaptive high beams. So I'll try and overlay a video here just giving a quick demo of that. And this is working very, very well, and I'm super happy with this. My only negative for this is it doesn't always work for pedestrians at the side of the road. So you're still going to blind pedestrians at the side of the road. I know some people have commented, I know Max, you commented and told me that it did dim for some pedestrians at the side of the road for you. But for me, that hasn't worked every time. And the other negative is that it will shine in houses at the end of T intersections, or as you turn corners, it really just lights up houses. And I find even if the ambient lighting is enough, the high beam still comes on. So when you normally wouldn't be running high beams, they will come on. That can be a bit annoying, but I think, look, these are really sort of small nitpicking negatives, and I'll run over that more in the separate video that I will be doing on the adaptive high beams. I think that deserves a separate review video. Okay, sorry, I had to go and take care of something. I came back and the sun was shining in my car and I didn't want to have to start the video again. So adaptive high beams, yes, I will do a separate video for that. And if you want to know, you just go into lights, So we will go back to settings, lights, adaptive high beams are there, and you can see it has this little new text next to it. So you can turn them off if you don't like them for whatever reason, but I find it good now. I can just leave auto high beams on and just forget about it. It's just a set and forget. In the nav now, if there is a better route available, it's now giving you the option of cancelling that. So sometimes I look down and think, wow, it's taking me on a different path. That could be because of traffic or for whatever reason, but I'm thinking, well, I don't want to go that way. I'd prefer to go a different way. Or, you know, you now have the option. It will give you this progress bar that it gives you the option of cancelling that. So you can decline that rerouting process. Wiper controls. So yes, wiper controls have changed, and I feel like this is a bit better because the auto still isn't that great. I feel like there has been a slight tweak to the auto wipers, but still at night time when you get a bright light shining down into the cameras, they tend to go a bit crazy. Actually, during the day, they tend to work. But now you just have the option, so you can push the button on the end of the stalk here, and you now have these manual controls when you scroll up and down on that volume control on the scroll wheels. So you can flick it down. Once you have selected the manual buttons here in a manual speed, so once you've taken it off auto, you can then just use the button at the side to scroll through those different speeds. So from 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it counts back down, and so you're scrolling through all of that. You can't put it back to auto with this button, but at least it gives you a really quick adjustment here where you don't need to look down at the screen. So we'll bring that back up, and I'll flick that back down to auto. So that was actually quite a useful improvement. So the next thing on here for the updates, there's just some hidden security improvements in the background. Other updates, we've been through some of these. So park, you can expand the browser. Okay, we haven't been through that yet. We can now have a full browser screen. So we can go, we'll go to zeroed bikes. Up in the top left here, you can now have the full browser, making full use of this big screen. So before, you used to only ever have this small little browser here. That makes such a big difference. You can't do it here. You need to go to that expanding button up in the top. So yeah. This makes the browser much more usable. I didn't really use the browser that much at all, but this now it just makes it a lot more usable. I'm more tempted now to use this instead of going to my phone if I'm sitting and waiting in the car. Okay, one of the other undocumented changes that I forgot to mention is under settings controls, you now have the car wash button here to enter car wash mode, just to make that a bit more convenient. Instead of going through into the service menu, scrolling through, a lot easier to find here under that controls menu. Okay, you can now swipe to delete Sentry mode recordings in the dash cam app. I won't demonstrate that. This video is going on long enough as it is. Valet mode, you can now get a notification when your vehicle is locked or unlocked or shifted out of park. So you can keep tabs on your car if it's been valet parked. Vampire Survivors game now has some extra updates. So there's some things I haven't really played that game much at all. I don't really have time to be playing games on here. I am a bit of a gamer, but yeah, I haven't really played Vampire Survivors much. Arcade includes the latest game update for Polytopia. So there's an update for Polytopia as well. I did notice a game update being downloaded after this update got installed in my car. Now, let's just have a look and see if there are any. We might just I'll overlay a screen recording of Not a Tesla app. So there are some other features to this update that aren't applicable to my car. So if you have the new Model 3, new Model S or new Model X, so I think this relies on the ultra wideband interface with your car instead of Bluetooth, so the car is able to track where your phone is a bit more accurately around the car, so you now get a hands-free trunk. So you can see that here in the notes on Not a Tesla app. This is quite a useful site. So we'll go down here and see what other notes there are. Okay, there's some improvements for the touchscreen as well. If you have a rear touchscreen, say in the new Model 3 or the S and the X, you do get a few more things back there in the screen. I won't go through all of them. Auto shift now, auto shift beta, even for cars with stalks, I think, or maybe not. You now get that on the S and the X. I don't really want to be going through updates for the S and the X's because that's not what I don't have one of those cars. And there are some updates here that are applicable just for Cybertruck. So the Cybertruck is getting a few more off-roading features and things here. So yeah, a lot of these things are just standard features that are coming to the Cybertruck in these release notes. Okay, when charging, I haven't really charged with the car in full screen mode, but your charging should be shown in full screen mode as well on the side of the screen. You'll get some little notes there for that. I'll try and get a video of that and overlay it over here of my car doing that. When I get to work, I might charge. Okay, well that's it for this update. I'm pretty sure I've covered everything. The only thing I just thought of was this update doesn't include the high fidelity park assist for ultrasonic censored cars. Now in the US, I think a small number of the FSD cars with ultrasonic sensors have been given the high fidelity park assist. So I think that's just a test before a wider release, hopefully. So hopefully in one of the next updates, here in Australia, having the ultrasonic censored cars in everything except for the new Model 3, which does have the high fidelity park assist. I think the rest of us with ultrasonic censored cars are looking forward to getting that feature. So the current park assist or auto park isn't that great, and I think we're all looking forward to that. So hopefully getting a more useful auto park feature that we've all paid for with either enhanced autopilot or with the FSD package. So guys, yeah, these software update videos weren't something I planned on doing when I started the channel, but I found they're pretty useful for some people, so I think it's worthwhile me doing them. And I think if you're looking at purchasing a Tesla, it's good to watch a video like this just to get a feel for what the ownership experience is like with a Tesla. And these cars get better over time. Some updates are more useful than others. This update here, I feel like the most useful thing is the adaptive high beams. A lot of these other things are designed to just give you that sort of warm, fuzzy feeling of and improve the user interface with the car. And this one has definitely done that by just tidying up that, giving you the full screen visuals. I think it really just improves that experience, and it almost makes it feel like a new car. And that's what these things are more about, these software updates and these little incremental improvements. So hopefully guys, I've done a good job here of explaining all the improvements here with this software update. As usual, if I've forgotten anything, please let me know in the comments. I'm happy to have that discussion there, or if there's any questions you need to ask about this video. So remember, with my videos, they tend to go on a bit longer. I don't script my videos. I rely on my research and knowledge of things that I have beforehand before I make the videos. These are the sort of videos I like to watch, and that's just how I roll. So yeah, let me know what you think, and I think that's it for the video. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and I will catch you next video.